aunt took apart my fish tank, ending my Betta fish. The straw that broke the camel's back. Petty revenge time. Fire with fire. So to keep it simple, yesterday, I got a Siamese fighting fish, or known as a Betta fish, named Eclipse due to obvious reasons. I unfortunately didn't have a proper aquarium for it, so I made one out of a large storage container from Home Depot plastic, a coffee mug, sponge filter plus air pump, and a little bit of sand. Wasn't perfect, but it would do until then. So my aunt complains earlier this morning that, why you got this big ass container for this small ass fish, and it don't need all that s. For those who don't know, Betta fish needs at least a 5-gallon tank, so I tried explaining to her that this isn't one of those carnival goldfish and needs certain criteria to thrive. And that didn't work. Anyway, I leave off of school. I get a call from my girlfriend. God, I effing love her that I can have her old 30-gallon aquarium plus filter and heater. I leave 2 hours early from school to put Eclipse in his new home, only to find that she took upon herself to dismantle my makeshift fish tank piece by piece, leaving Eclipse unalive in a Tupperware bowl filled with freezing cold water in the middle of my bedroom floor. When I confronted her, she said, I told you her don't need all that s, and that's what fish do. They swim and unalive. Bet. So once she left to run errands, I went into the living room and grabbed her picture of her deceased grandfather. The only thing she has left related to him, and I dismantled the frame bit by bit, and when she comes back home, where she's gonna find the picture. At the bottom of the bowl, torn in shreds, in freezing cold water, in the middle of her bedroom floor. Sure, it might be a fish, but it was my fish, my money, my joy, literally unalived in cold blood. Well, tonight she's gonna learn just how little things can make a big difference. Swim in peace, Eclipse, who lasted as long as her namesake. Now, what you've all been waiting for. The update. So, about 2 hours after posting the original, she got home and saw the carnage of my actions. And I never heard such a shrill scream in my life. And what makes it worse is that I couldn't help but smile. You see, this isn't the first time she's disregarded something of mine. This will be the last, though. What makes this different is that it's a living animal involved. She ridiculed my girlfriend in public. She took $100 my cousin got for me for my birthday and held on to it. That was 1.5 years ago. She's misplaced a scrapbook full of letters from my mother during her stay at the nursing home. She passed away in 2019, and none of those incidents got responses from me. At the time, I thought everything was happening for a reason. But this was the last time I was going to sit there and do S about it. You see, I've something about people. The only language that everyone truly knows and understands is violence. Anyway, she started crying. Cried so much, she could fill her own darn aquarium. Once she got done bawling her eyes out, she stormed into my room and questioned me about it. I simply told her, doesn't feel good, does it? To have your S disregarded? I bet it doesn't. Besides, didn't your grandpa hate you because you refused to look after his grandson? He never wanted to see you again. That includes beyond the grave. She then proceeded to threaten to have me arrested for destruction for property. I argued that I could do the same for animal cruelty abuse. After an hour or so of this, she finally said that, one day you're gonna learn to stop touching people's S. And proceeded to leave the room. I responded, and you learned that lesson today. Was that disrespectful? Oh, for sure. You can call me a monster. And a hole. A demon. A piece of S. All the above for all I care. None of that stopped me from having something I haven't had in a while. A good night's sleep. Now some people were saying that the fish was good as unalive anyway. And yes, I bought the fish not knowing what it needed. So I went to my friends over at our Betta Fish, and they gave me the idea of a makeshift tank. And yes, everything was perfectly safe for Eclipse. The plastic storage bin was cleaned and rinsed and filled with room temp water along with the water conditioner. It had the coffee mug to hide in. It had the sponge and air pump as the filter. It had a small heater next to it. Not too close, didn't want to melt a hole in it. It even had some sand in it. Sure, it wasn't the best thing. But I can assure you, if she didn't touch that tank, it'll still be alive today. You can also argue that I only had it for a day. Why does that matter? If you had a puppy for a day, and your loved one took away everything it needed and left it outside, how would you feel? Some people would say they aren't the same thing, but it is. They're living beings, creatures that could have lasted years, things that people love, things that people care for. If that makes me a psychopath, then lock me the F up because I'm sick of people disregarding my belongings. Swim in peace, Eclipse. P.S. I think I need to point out that my aunt doesn't own the house, my uncle does. And he already told me I'm not going anywhere, so I don't need to worry about that. The last update. Hey mates, it's me, the psycho fish guy again. Hopefully this is the last time I have to post things here because I'm honestly sick of all of this, to be honest. So anyway, a couple of things has happened since the last post. For one, I told my girlfriend what I've done, and she, like a lot of you, wasn't very impressed. She said it was necessary to put my foot down, but destroying what of all that was left of her grandfather didn't make me any better than her. And although I wasn't concerned about being the better person, now that I had the time to process the whole thing, she has a point. Sure, her grandfather was an absolute slob of a human being that spent most of his life in prison for sexual harassment and honestly hated her existence. But that was her ancestor, not mine. And who knows what memories they could have had when I wasn't on this earth. Prob not much, but I guess there's nothing wrong with loving a monster. Plus, there were several alternatives of revenge I could have done. I could have replaced her picture with one of Eclipse and hid the other one. I could just destroyed the frame to cause minimal damage. I could have even made a photocopy of it and tore that to give her a little scare, but not leave any permanent scars. But I didn't. And the fact that destroying essentially her family relic was the first thought I had, and I didn't even reconsider it for a single second, or even feel bad when hearing her in straight anguish, actually has me concerned. So that's why I've talked to my uncle about getting into therapy of some sorts. I don't want to end up the same person as my aunt, and since we are on the topic of my aunt, she's gone. Just about an hour and a half ago, I got a call from my uncle. He told me that, for my and his safety, she is no longer welcome at this home. And by the time I get home today, her and all her belongings will be out of the house. Kinda of ironic, isn't it? I don't know if they got into an argument, or if he found out about something, or maybe he's been trying to find an excuse to do this for a while. P.S. They are not married, so it's not gonna be a divorce. And to put it frankly, I don't know how to feel. I feel like S because I know this is all my fault. Maybe if I didn't get so angry and be a better person, this wouldn't have happened. But at the same time, maybe this is the start of a new beginning. Maybe I can spend the last of my childhood in peace and not have to worry about privacy or boundaries. And as for my aunt, part of me hopes she gets hit by a bus and becomes left to rot. But another part of me genuinely wishes the best for her. After all, she wasn't always a bad person. We actually had some great moments in life. Hopefully she can reunite with her family and find some other item of her grandfather's. I doubt it, but it's always nice to have faith. At the end of the day, I think this honestly the best way this could have ended. No one got hurt. No one is in trouble with the law. And no one is homeless. That last one is a bit iffy, but I doubt my uncle would put her out if she didn't have nowhere else to go. Long story short, I could have done something far less harmful. But that's the only way some people learn. Fire with fire. And I wanted to address some things, answer some questions. I'm 17 years old. I'll be 18 in a few months. I plan on getting another fish, but not at least for another 6 weeks so we can properly set up everything. I think I'm gonna leave it at my girlfriend's house just to be safe. I was thinking of naming it Daybreak, but I don't know yet. To the people that claims this is fake, why the actual F would I waste time out of my day to intentionally taint my and my family in front of millions of strangers who most likely could give it us less if I even wake up the next morning? To those who claim I have autism, I don't. I have ADHD. But why does that matter? Are you saying that to be funny? Because if that's the case, you're not funny. Listen, I love F-up humor as much as the next person. But neurodivergency jokes aren't funny. That and cancer jokes are very F-up. Most of you here are grown-ass adults. And the fact that you resort to that to insult an adolescent really shows your character. To the people who are saying I need therapy, I can't thank you enough. For once I feel that I'm going to get some help that will help me further down the road. I know, my writing style is inaccurate and kinda cringy, but it gets the point across, doesn't it? Some of y'all didn't even fully read it anyway. I honestly can't thank y'all enough. For those who think I'm their hero or leech of financial dependency, I enjoying laughing and reminiscing at the comments. I've learned some valuable lessons, but most importantly, I feel whole again. Swim in peace, Eclipse. Hope this is the end of it. Until next time, mates.